Here on the Duncan Duo Show. I'm Andrew Duncan, joined by Mike Corrigan with Cross Country Mortgage. And we have seen the comeback of what the mortgage industry calls risky mortgages. I don't hear them calling them the subprime mortgages.
No,
I think they don't want to call them that because it's like scary. It's like a bad word, like that are toxic, you know. It's only logical that as the economy gets better and the employment gets better, house values get better, that mortgage companies take on a little bit more risk. And so we've seen a growth in, the number of what are kind of deemed risky mortgages. And those are just lower credit type of mortgages that may not qualify for certain government type, backing.
Yeah, they're anything that is outside the, called the proverbial box of the situation, whether it's a low credit situation, the income is not a standard, pay stub W-2 type income. Maybe it's self-employed income where the tax returns don't show enough positive income at the end of the year, but they have plenty of cash flow that is coming in their bank statements, their business accounts, but they're taking advantage of the tax laws as we have them today, so they don't show as enough income to Uncle Sam,
Yeah.
but they can afford a home.
And so one of the things that I wanted to mention is there's this chart here. And I want to kind of put this into context because I think this can get twisted here a little bit. In 2008, there were $65 billion in origination of unconventional mortgages. That went down below $10 billion in 9 and 10, and then stayed below $30 billion up until 16. And now in 18 it was $45 billion, and in 19 it looks to be like it's going to be probably somewhere around the same thing as it was in 18. But so when I see this, here's how this can get twisted. There are a lot of people out there who will say, "Oh, here we go again. They're doing all the same stuff, and they're making these bad loans, and it's going to do this and it's going to do that." First off, it's still 50% less than what it was in 2008. We're nowhere near. I mean, we're 50% less, right?
Right. In
terms of the number of the risky mortgages. So we've eliminated 50%. That's a lot. That's a huge number, right? So while it has trended up, there's one other thing that doesn't get factored into their analysis here that I think is huge. We've seen over the last several years the change in our economy to more of a 1099 gig worker economy. You've got Airbnb, you got Uber, you got Airbnb, you've got all these apps, all these industries that are changing, Shipped, where they hire people and they're contractors, and these people are getting paid not in a typical salary wage.
Right.
You've also had changes in health insurance. So a lot of employers want to have people on 1099 so that they're not paying health insurance. So there's been this change that I think, in addition to the mortgage and real estate market being healthier, the reason we're seeing more of these is because mortgage companies have to adapt to a change in how workers are being paid, and the gig economy that we're in now with so many more people working for companies like Uber and Lyft and Uber Eats, and that are on these 1099 jobs for a portion of their income or all of their income. That just wasn't the case back in 2008.
Yeah, it was, and you're right, a lot of people are like, here we go again, but it is different this time.
It's completely different.
The mortgage companies that are offering these products that are out there and whatnot, there are different hooks that are in there. It is not just, the joke back in the day was if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan, right? And that was about it. That's not the case
No,
today.
they've got to prove income, they've got to prove correct. There's a lot of things that they have to do, but the mortgage market has to adapt with how people are paid today, and there's so many more 1099 people and 1099 gig type jobs with these apps and all these changes in the world economy that more or less now those are called risky mortgages. But they're not the same risk that it was years ago. I mean, you're still verifying the person's getting paid. It's just they're a 1099 now versus an employee, so they're classified differently.
Absolutely, and you're right. It's just that our world is changing. The internet has changed everything. Technology continues to disrupt it, and it's really a cool time to be in the market and be around.
Yeah. So a lot of that $45 billion in loan origination isn't anything other than a change in how people getting mortgages employees versus contractors, the changes in that's happening, as well as I think certainly there's some that are the riskier, different types, but when you look at it, that we're 50% less than we were in 2008 still today. In addition to having all this new created, self-employed, entrepreneurial generation that we're dealing with, you have to put it into context. You can't compare the economy and how people were employed in 2008 to 2018. It's just so much different. There's so many more entrepreneurs and business owners today than there were then. And a lot of those entrepreneurs and business owners that make good money write off a lot. They're 1099s. Their income on paper looks less because they want to pay less in taxes, but they got money in the bank and they can make the payment.
Absolutely.
So again, you're listening to the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show here on 970 WFLA. When we aren't on air, make sure to follow us on all our socials. We are at the Duncan Duo pretty much everywhere.